You know what separates men who talk about greatness from men who actually live it? It's not luck, it's not talent, it's discipline. Every single day, the world is testing you. It whispers, take it easy. It tempts you with comfort, with distraction, with instant pleasure. And most men fall. They fall because they let their emotions make decisions their logic should be making. You see, a man ruled by emotion is a man owned by the world. But a man ruled by discipline, he owns himself. And that's where real power begins. When you wake up in the morning and your mind says, stay in bed, that's emotion talking. When you say, no, I've got work to do, that's discipline speaking. The difference between those two voices decides the direction of your entire life. Weak men obey emotion. Strong men obey discipline. The difference is night and day. Emotion wants you to seek comfort. Discipline forces you to seek growth. Emotion tells you to take shortcuts. Discipline tells you to take the long road because that's where character is built. People often say, I'll start when I feel ready. But here's the truth, you'll never feel ready. Feelings are unreliable. Feelings lie. Discipline doesn't. Discipline shows up when motivation dies. Discipline doesn't need a reason. It doesn't care if you're tired, bored, or uninspired. It moves regardless. That's why discipline is the foundation of manhood, because it's built on control. If you can't control yourself, you'll never control your destiny. You have to train your mind like a soldier. When emotion knocks on the door, discipline answers. When laziness whispers, take a break, discipline shouts back, earn it. Every day, you're in a battle between the man you are and the man you could be. Emotion fights for comfort, discipline fights for purpose. And the battlefield is your mind. That's why discipline isn't something you practice once in a while. It's something you become. It's an identity, not a habit. Every strong man you admire, every fighter, every leader, every champion, they all share one thing. They've mastered the art of doing what needs to be done, even when they don't feel like it. They wake up before the sun. They grind when nobody's watching. They keep promises to themselves, no matter how small, because they understand that discipline creates freedom. Freedom from regret, freedom from weakness, freedom from failure. And let me tell you this, if you can't control the little things, you'll never master the big things. If you can't say no to the donut, how will you say no to the deal that compromises your values? If you can't control your temper, how will you control your empire? Discipline starts small in how you eat, how you wake up, how you talk to yourself. It builds from the inside out. It's not about being perfect. It's about being consistent. The man who lives by discipline doesn't wait for opportunity. He creates it. He doesn't chase confidence. He earns it through action. He doesn't need to talk about being strong. He becomes strength itself. The truth is, when you live by discipline, you become dangerous. Because you can't be swayed by emotion, you can't be controlled by others, and you can't be stopped by failure. You simply keep going day after day until your life bends to your will. The world respects the man who can say, I don't care how I feel. I care about what I must do. That's the moment you stop being average. That's the moment you separate yourself from the crowd. Every time you choose discipline over emotion, you stack bricks of power. Brick by brick, decision by decision, you're building a fortress around your mind, a fortress no weakness can enter. Discipline isn't glamorous. It's not loud. It's quiet. It's repetitive. It's lonely. But it's also the reason some men stand tall when life hits hard while others crumble. The disciplined man doesn't break under pressure. He thrives in it because he knows pain is temporary, but pride is forever. Discipline gives you that pride, the kind that can't be faked. The kind you earn in silence, when no one's clapping, when no one's watching, when it's just you and the grind. So the next time your emotions tell you to quit, remind yourself emotions make you human, but discipline makes you powerful. Pain, it's the word everyone runs from, but it's the very thing that forges greatness. Every man dreams of being strong, confident, unstoppable, but none of that comes without pain. You can't build muscle without tearing it first. You can't build discipline without discomfort. You can't build power without pressure. Pain isn't your enemy, it's your greatest ally. It's the doorway between the weak version of you and the man you're destined to become. Most people never walk through it because they're afraid. They want comfort more than they want change. But here's the truth: if you avoid pain, you also avoid growth. Every single time you choose the easy way out, you lose a little bit of yourself. You lose that edge, that fire, that raw hunger that pushes men to rise above mediocrity. The moment you start running from pain, you start dying slowly. Life isn't supposed to be comfortable. The universe rewards those who can suffer with purpose. The gym hurts, but it builds you. Waking up early hurts, but it sharpens you. Sacrificing pleasure hurts, but it elevates you. Pain teaches you things success never will. It humbles you, molds you, and burns away weakness until only strength remains. People always say they want to be resilient, but they avoid every situation that would test them. You can't learn to fight without getting hit. You can't learn endurance without exhaustion. You can't learn focus without distraction. The struggle is the school where real men are built. Every hardship is a lesson. Every failure is feedback. Every setback is shaping you. But only if you endure it instead of escaping it. The world's strongest men aren't those who avoid pain. They're the ones who've learned to walk through it with a smile, knowing it's sculpting something greater inside them. When you feel pain, you're in the right place. Because pain is proof that you're pushing beyond your limits. Pain means you're evolving. Growth is uncomfortable. Change hurts. But staying the same hurts more. You just don't feel that pain right away. It's the pain of regret, of wasted time, of missed potential. And that pain cuts deeper than any struggle you'll face in the gym, at work, or in life. So you have to make a choice: suffer now in pursuit of greatness, or suffer forever. Because you never had the courage to try, you have to learn to reframe pain. Stop seeing it as punishment and start seeing it as preparation. When you lift weights, you don't curse the resistance, you thank it, because you know it's making you stronger. Life works the same way. Every obstacle is resistance. Every problem is pressure. But pressure creates diamonds, and those diamonds are forged only in fire. Without the heat, there's no brilliance. Without the pain, there's no power. Look at anyone who's truly successful. Every one of them has a story filled with pain, betrayal, failure, loss, sacrifice. But instead of crying about it, they used it as fuel. They said, "If this is what it takes, I'll take more." Pain became their training ground. The world tried to break them, and they turned the breaking into building. That's what separates the average from the elite. The weak curse their struggles. The strong thank them, because the strong understand that pain is the test you must pass before you earn strength. There's beauty in pain if you're brave enough to look for it. It strips away illusions. It exposes who you really are. When everything's easy, everyone looks confident. But when pain hits, the truth comes out. Pain reveals character. It shows you what you believe in, what you're willing to fight for, what you're made of. It's in your worst moments that your best self is waiting to emerge. But only if you refuse to quit. Pain demands respect, but it also demands response. When life hits you, you don't hide, you hit back harder. When your body screams stop, your mind must whisper go. Every time you push past pain, you expand your limits. You become the man others can't compete with because they're still afraid of the very thing you've mastered. Pain becomes your weapon, your teacher, your proof of progress. So when you're tired, when it hurts, when you want to give up, remember pain isn't breaking you. It's building you. Every rep, every rejection, every sleepless night, every moment of doubt, it's all carving you into the man you're meant to be. There's a war going on inside every man. It's not fought with fists or weapons. It's fought in silence between the part of you that craves discipline and the part of you that craves comfort. Between the man you could be and the man you've been settling for. Every morning when you wake up, that battle begins again. One voice says, let's go. Let's push. Let's build. The other whispers, relax, you've done enough. You deserve a break. That second voice, that lazy, weak, indulgent voice, that's your inner slave. And the more you listen to it, the more control it gains over your life. The inner slave loves comfort. It loves distraction. It loves everything that gives you an excuse not to rise. It tells you you'll start tomorrow. It tells you you've earned rest before you've earned results. It tells you to take it easy while other men are out there building empires. That inner slave feeds on weakness. Every time you snooze your alarm, every time you skip the gym, every time you scroll instead of study, it grows stronger. But here's the truth: you are either controlling your mind or your mind is controlling you. There's no middle ground. Discipline is the weapon you use to silence that inner slave. You don't negotiate with it. You don't reason with it. You command it. You wake up when it says sleep. You grind when it says quit. You stay focused when it begs for distraction. Because every time you choose strength over surrender, you take back power. You build momentum. You remind that voice who's in charge. The world doesn't reward men who listen to their comfort. It rewards men who dominate their impulses. The inner slave wants to keep you soft. It wants you addicted to ease. It wants you to live for pleasure instead of purpose. That's why most men spend their lives chasing instant gratification food, entertainment, validation, instead of building something meaningful. They become slaves to their urges, and then they wonder why they feel empty. The truth is simple: you can't feel fulfilled when you're living beneath your potential. And you can't reach your potential if your inner slave runs the show. You have to start treating that inner weakness like an enemy. Because it is. It's not your friend. It's not protecting you. It's destroying you quietly, one excuse at a time. It wants you to stay average. It wants you to blend in. It wants you to settle. But you were not built for that. You were built for dominance, for greatness, for leadership. You were built to conquer the very parts of yourself that hold you back. That's the real battle of life, not against others, but against your own resistance every day. You get a choice: submit or rise. Some days you'll feel strong, other days you'll feel like giving up. But it's in those moments of weakness that your character is revealed. You don't build discipline when you're motivated. You build it when you're tired, when you're uninspired, when you have every reason to quit and still choose to move forward. That's when the inner warrior stands up and says, I don't care how I feel. I care about what must be done. The inner slave will always try to manipulate you. It will disguise itself as logic, whispering things like, you need rest, or you're being too hard on yourself. It's clever because it doesn't come at you directly. It seduces you with comfort. It lulls you into mediocrity. And once you surrender once, it will keep taking more your energy, your ambition, your edge, until there's nothing left but regret. You have to catch it in the act. The moment that voice speaks, recognize it, reject it, and replace it with action. When you start winning that inner war, your confidence changes. You stop needing motivation from outside because your power comes from within. You stop chasing validation because you already respect yourself. You stop fearing failure because you know you've conquered worse battles inside your own mind. That's when life starts bending in your favor. Because the man who controls himself can control his world. There's no external enemy more dangerous than the weakness within. You can't destroy it overnight. You have to starve it daily. Starve it by doing the hard things. Starve it by saying no when it's easier to say yes. Starve it by proving over and over that you are not a slave to comfort. The real freedom every man seeks doesn't come from money or status. It comes from mastery of self. It comes from defeating that inner slave and awakening the warrior who's been buried beneath years of excuses and distractions. Let's talk about something most people never value until it's too late: routine. Everybody wants results, but nobody wants the structure that creates them. Everyone wants to feel successful, but they don't want to live disciplined days. They crave freedom, but reject the very thing that creates it: consistency. The truth is simple. If your life has no order, your potential will always stay chaos. Every great man you've ever admired lives by routine. They don't rely on motivation. They rely on systems. They don't wake up wondering what to do. Their days are designed to serve their mission. Routine is not about boring repetition. It's about building rhythm. And rhythm builds mastery. When you live without routine, your mind becomes weak. You wake up and drift. You waste hours deciding instead of doing. You allow the world to decide your pace instead of commanding it yourself. That's how mediocrity begins, not in one big failure, but in 1,000 small moments of aimless living. Routine fixes that. Routine gives you structure. It tells your mind, this is who I am. This is what I do every day. And when your mind learns that pattern, you stop needing to convince yourself to act. You just act. Discipline becomes automatic. Most people look for excitement, not progress. They think routine kills passion, but they don't realize passion without direction is chaos. The gym becomes optional. The work becomes inconsistent. The goals stay on paper instead of turning into reality. But a man with a routine doesn't need to hope for progress, he guarantees it. Because every day, brick by brick, he's stacking habits that build empires. You want power, build routine. You want focus, build structure. You want confidence. Keep your word to yourself every single morning. Whether you feel like it or not, the most powerful men on earth understand one thing: routine is freedom disguised as discipline. When your life is structured, your mind is free to perform. You don't waste energy deciding what to do. You already know. You don't chase balance, you create control. Routine eliminates chaos, and chaos is the enemy of greatness. Because chaos breeds inconsistency, inconsistency breeds regret, and regret breeds weakness. Think about it. The gym at the same hour, reading at the same time, work done in blocks, sleep set on schedule. People say it's too rigid. But that rigidity is what sharpens the blade. Every repetition engraves strength into your identity. You become the kind of man who does what needs to be done, not because someone told you, not because you feel inspired, but because that's who you are. You're a man of structure, a man of order, a man who has mastered himself. Routine is not about perfection. It's about commitment. You'll fail some days, you'll slip, you'll mess up. That's fine. The key is to return to the pattern immediately. The man who keeps returning to discipline always beats the man who chases motivation. Because over time, consistency compounds. One disciplined day may not change your life, but 1,000 of them will make you unstoppable. Every morning you follow your routine, you're telling your brain, we're still in control. That message, repeated enough times, rewires your entire identity. The truth is, most men are slaves to their impulses. They go where emotion leads them. They eat when they're bored, rest when they're lazy, scroll when they're anxious. Routine breaks that cycle. It puts logic above emotion. It teaches your mind that feeling tired doesn't mean stopping. Feeling distracted doesn't mean quitting. You move anyway, you execute anyway. And that kind of consistency creates something unshakable inside you. The beauty of routine is that it doesn't lie. It's honest feedback. You can't fake it. You either did the work or you didn't. You either stuck to your schedule or you broke it. It's a mirror that shows you who you are every day. And when you see that reflection enough times, you start taking pride in it. You begin to crave that structure because you know it's the only path that actually leads to real progress. The man who builds his life on routine is untouchable. He doesn't wait for inspiration. He doesn't rely on chance. His results aren't random, they're inevitable. Because his habits control his future. His routine becomes his armor. And while the rest of the world wastes time chasing motivation, he's out there stacking victories day after day, quietly, relentlessly, with a focus that nothing can break. Every man wants respect, but few understand that self-respect isn't something you can demand, it's something you must earn. You earn it in silence, through sacrifice, through the daily decisions nobody sees. Every time you do what you said you'd do, every time you choose discipline over comfort, you're building that inner respect brick by brick. The truth is, you can't respect yourself if you constantly break promises to yourself. You can't feel powerful if you keep choosing the easy way out. Real confidence isn't built by words, it's built by sacrifice. Sacrifice is the currency of growth. You can't have everything. You can't chase comfort and expect greatness. You can't spend your days in pleasure and expect your nights to be filled with pride. Something must die for something greater to live. Maybe it's your laziness, your excuses, your distractions. Maybe it's your comfort zone. But make no mistake, you cannot build the man you're meant to be without giving up the boy you've been. Every dream demands a cost. And the cost is always paid in sacrifice. When you start sacrificing for yourself, something powerful happens. You start trusting yourself. You begin to believe in your own word. You stop needing validation from others because your actions already validate you. You don't need to talk about being disciplined. You know you are. That's what separates the talkers from the doers. The talkers post quotes about hard work. The doers are too busy working to post anything. The talkers seek motivation. The doers create it through effort. The talkers want the outcome. The doers respect the process. Most men fail, not because they lack talent, but because they refuse to sacrifice. They want success, but they also want comfort. They want strength, but they also want ease. They want respect, but they also want distraction. You can't have both. Life will always test you by offering you two paths, the one that feels good now and the one that feels right later. The man who chooses the second path, the harder one, the one that demands discipline, that's the man who becomes unbreakable. Sacrifice is not punishment, it's transformation. Every time you sacrifice something weak, you strengthen something powerful inside you. You give up short-term pleasure to gain long-term pride. You let go of what's holding you back so you can rise higher. It's not about losing, it's about trading. You're trading comfort for confidence, distraction for direction, pleasure for purpose. And that trade always pays off if you have the patience to stay consistent. The problem is most people want results without paying the price. They want to look strong without going through struggle. They want respect without doing the work that earns it. But life doesn't work that way. You can't fake discipline. You can't cheat consistency. You can't trick your own mind into believing you're great if you know you've been cutting corners. The mirror doesn't lie. Deep down, you always know whether you've given your best or not. And that's where real self-respect lives, in knowing that you gave everything, that you did what needed to be done even when nobody was watching. There's a moment in every man's life where he realizes that self-respect is worth more than any external reward. You stop chasing applause. You stop caring about validation because you've already found something deeper: pride in your own effort. When you look in the mirror and know you've earned every inch of progress, that's a feeling no one can take away from you. That's real wealth. That's real confidence. That's real freedom. Sacrifice also teaches gratitude. When you give up things you once thought you needed, you start appreciating what truly matters: health, focus, progress, peace. You stop chasing distractions because you realize they were never feeding you, they were numbing you. And the moment you let them go, your clarity returns. You start moving through life with direction. You begin to respect time. You stop wasting energy on nonsense because you've worked too hard to get here. And that's what most people don't understand. Discipline and sacrifice don't make your life smaller. They make it bigger. They create space for growth, for achievement, for meaning. When you sacrifice for your goals, you align with your higher self. You prove that your future matters more than your impulses. You stop being a prisoner of your desires and start becoming the architect of your destiny. Because the man who sacrifices daily earns something money, fame, and power can't buy: the unshakable respect of the man in the mirror. There's a moment in every man's journey when discipline stops being something he does and becomes who he is. It's no longer an act, it's identity. You stop saying, "I'll try," and start saying, "I must." You stop negotiating with your weakness because you've already decided who you are. That's when you become unstoppable. Not because life gets easier, but because you become harder. The world still throws obstacles, still tests your limits, still tempts you with distractions, but nothing moves you anymore. Because discipline isn't a switch you flip, it's the foundation you live on. When discipline becomes part of your DNA, you don't wake up wondering whether to act, you just act. You don't ask yourself if you feel ready, because readiness stopped mattering. The question is never, do I want to? The question is, what needs to be done? That mindset separates the strong from the soft. Most people live reacting to life. They let their emotions dictate their choices, their mood decide their effort, their environment control their direction. But when you've built discipline as identity, you live proactively. You move with purpose. You control your environment instead of being shaped by it. The truth is, every man is defined by his standards. Your identity isn't built by what you say, it's built by what you tolerate. If you tolerate laziness, you become lazy. If you tolerate excuses, you become weak. But if you only tolerate effort, consistency, and truth, that becomes your identity. Discipline is not about being perfect. It's about being consistent enough that even your failures push you forward. It's about knowing that no matter how you feel, the mission continues. You don't stop. You don't pause. You keep moving. Becoming unstoppable doesn't mean you never get tired. It means you keep going when you are. It means when the world says rest, you say rise. When life hits you, you don't crumble, you adjust and keep pushing. You stop seeing challenges as setbacks and start seeing them as signals. Signals that you're on the right path, signals that you're growing stronger. The man who is disciplined doesn't fear the storm. He becomes a storm because he's built for it. Every repetition, every sacrifice, every hard choice has forged his resilience. There's a level of discipline that makes you magnetic. People can feel it when you walk into a room. You carry an energy that says, I don't quit. I don't break. I don't need luck. It's a silent power built in the moments when no one was watching, when you kept showing up, when you trained your mind to obey, not complain. Discipline at that level changes everything. It affects how you walk, how you talk, how you think. It makes you calm under pressure because you've already fought wars in silence that nobody else could see. When discipline becomes who you are, you stop chasing balance, you create order. You stop chasing success, you embody it. You start realizing that results don't come from effort alone, they come from consistency over time. Discipline is what carries you when excitement fades. It's what drives you through the days that feel endless. It's what makes you dangerous in a world full of people who quit as soon as it gets hard. You're no longer just surviving the grind, you've become one with it. The man who's built on discipline doesn't need to announce it. He doesn't talk about how hard he works or how much he sacrifices. His actions speak louder than his words ever could. You see it in his eyes, in the way he moves, in the calm confidence that can't be faked. Because when you live with discipline, you don't need to prove anything, you've already proved it to yourself. That's the essence of being unstoppable. You no longer depend on circumstances to determine your state. You are the constant in a world full of chaos, and that's the beauty of turning discipline into identity. It gives you control over everything that once controlled you. You stop chasing dopamine and start chasing destiny. You stop being reactive and start being intentional. Every choice you make reinforces who you are becoming. And that's when something shifts. The man you once dreamed of being is no longer a fantasy. He's standing right in front of you, built through years of decisions, forged in consistency, sculpted in sacrifice. Because when discipline becomes identity, there's no finish line, no hesitation, no limit, only the relentless pursuit of becoming better every single day. Discipline. That's the word that built every great man in history. It's not luck, not talent, not motivation. Discipline. The quiet power that turns boys into warriors, that turns struggle into strength, that turns chaos into control. Through every moment of this journey, one truth stands taller than all. Emotion fades, pain passes, comfort dies, but discipline remains. It's the foundation of who you become. It's the armor you wear when life hits hardest. It's the voice inside that says, I don't care how I feel. I care about what I must do. You've learned that emotion is temporary, but commitment is eternal. That pain is not your enemy, it's your proving ground. That the real war isn't outside, it's inside, between your higher self and your weaker one. You've learned that routine is your silent weapon, the rhythm that transforms chaos into control. You've seen that sacrifice isn't loss, it's the down payment on your own respect. And you've realized that discipline, once practiced long enough, becomes identity. It becomes who you are. The man who builds his life on discipline doesn't need to chase validation because he lives in alignment with his purpose. He doesn't beg for freedom. He earns it through control. He doesn't fear challenges. He welcomes them as tests of his character. That's what separates men who talk about potential from those who fulfill it. Discipline turns dreams into direction, pain into power, and effort into excellence. So ask yourself right now, are you living as the man you're meant to be or the man you're settling to be? Because every decision you make answers that question. Every morning you rise or snooze. Every moment you act or hesitate. Every sacrifice you make or avoid. That's how your legacy is written, not in words, but in choices. The truth is, you don't need more time, more motivation, or more luck. You need more discipline. The discipline to keep going when it's boring. The discipline to stay focused when it's painful. The discipline to build your future while everyone else is wasting theirs. That's how greatness is born, not in a flash of brilliance, but in the relentless consistency of a man who refuses to quit. Because in the end, discipline isn't just a tool. It's not just a rule. It's who you become when you decide that nothing will own you, not comfort, not fear, not emotion, not doubt. When you master discipline, you master life. And that's when the world finally steps aside for the man who never stopped moving forward.